So who are the Nagas? The Nagas are a group of tribal people who live in the territory between the regions of India, China and Burma. They are known famously as a headhunters hill tribes by the outsiders. The Nagas are a tribal group of people who had lived independently in their own territory for centuries without any outside interference, contact or a conquest. So who are the Nagas? Why are the Nagas demanding for independence? Why are they asking for an integration of land? So in order to understand that, we have to look back to a history. Let's see that Naga issues through historical perspective. From the beginnings of the Indian civilizations, from Harappan civilizations, Indus Valley civilizations back in 2800 BCE to Mughal Empire in 16th century or be it Maratha Empire, Nagas have no connections with the Indian subcontinent. Nagas has no cultural or political attachments or relationships with any of the countries, any of the empires in India. Mauryan Empire or be it Kushans or a Gupta Empire or a Delhi Sultanate or be that of the Mughal Empire in 16th century or that of Maratha Empire. Nagas have no attachments or close relationships with any of these empires and dynasties throughout Indian history. It was only the British who were able to penetrate into the interiors of the Naga Hills. In the 13th century, the Ahuns were passing through the Naga Hills and came in contact with the Nagas. The Nagas had fiercely resisted against the Ahuns but were defeated. Though there was a constant hostilities between the Ahuns and the Nagas, but in the later years, the matrimonial alliances between the Nagas and the Ahuns developed. The Nagini Mora is a historical evidence of one of the finest examples of relationships between the Nagas and the Ahuns. The Ahuns never tried to conquer, annex or interfere in the internal administrations of the Nagas through the rules of 600 years. During the Mughal and the Burmese invasion on Assam, the Nagas shelters and protected the Ahuns in the Naga Hills. This cordial relationship led to the development of trade and commerce in the plains, which leads to the development of the Nagamis, which are spoken by the Nagas to this day. But by the beginning of the 19th century, after the Anglo-Burmese War, the Nagas comes in contact with the British. After the Anglo-Burmese War, by the Treaty of Yandambo that was signed between the Burmese and the British in 1826, it allows the British to gain the control over the territory of Assam, Kachar and Jantia Hills. So in 1832, Captain Jenkins and Lieutenant Pemberton were moving with around 700 Manipuri troops and 800 coolies, passing through the Naga Hills across the Angami territory. The Angami village like Kodama, Mezoma, Jakama, Pifema, Musoma opposed the British trespassing and offered a strong resistance against the British. Ultimately led to the establishment of military posts by the British at Samaguti, now modern Chonokidima, in 1866. After a policy of non-interference adopted by the British, in 1874, Captain Johnston adopted the policy of annexations. So in 1878, Kohima was invaded and was captured on 27 March 1880. The Angamis were able to drive out the British from the Kohima and seize Kohima for some time. But the British sent a reinforcement under Colonel Johnston arrived at Kohima with a force of around 2,000 Manipuri troops, 30 sepoys and 50 policemen. With this force, Kohima was recaptured by the British again. Then in 1881, Kohima was formally annexed to the British territory and retained as a British territory. And from then on, the process of modernizations of westernizations of the Nagas began. The comings of Christianity, political, economic and social changes took place with the coming of British colonizations in the Naga Hills.